My online boyfriend sent me a meow dress. By some stroke of bad luck, my mother accidentally put the package into my younger sister's closet. The good news was that I had just discovered my online boyfriend was actually Austin, the boy I had secretly loved for 3 years. The bad news was that when my sister wore the dress, he mistook her for me and confessed his love to her. Just as I was about to type out an explanation to him, a cascade of glowing bullet comments drifted across my vision. This side character is so pathetic it is almost comical. Does she still not get it? He fell for her online persona, but he is a visual creature. If it were not for the sister's gorgeous face, the male lead would have kept her as a virtual pen pal forever. Let her speak. Once she makes a fool of herself trying to explain, the male lead will realize he actually loves the real-life sister, not some text-based avatar. I deleted my half-written text and closed the chat window. Under the warm glow of the street lamp, the two of them looked like a picture-perfect couple. I tossed my phone into my desk drawer and forced my eyes back to the math formulas in front of me, but the numbers blurred together, and my mind kept drifting back to my sister, Violet, and Austin. They were saying their goodbyes downstairs. Austin stood under the light, his eyes tracking her figure until she safely crossed the threshold of our building. Outside my door, my mother was already teasing Violet, asking when they had started dating and why she had kept it a secret. She claimed she was not a conservative parent. As long as it did not affect her grades, she would not stand in their way. Violet covered her burning cheeks, her voice dropping to a soft, hushed tone as she glanced toward my room, worried she might disrupt my studying. He really just confessed to me today. I was completely shocked too. He said he has been watching me for a long time, and he even praised how beautiful I looked in this dress. She wrapped her arms around our mother's shoulder, leaning in close. Thank you for buying me this dress, Mom. It was only then that my mother realized something was off. She had never bought Violet that dress. She had simply assumed Violet had purchased it with her own allowance. Violet blinked in confusion, her gaze instinctively turning toward my closed door. The bullet comments instantly erupted into a wave of adoration. Violet looks so adorable and guilty. My heart is melting. To be fair, that dress looks 10 times better on Violet anyway. Do not feel bad, Violet. Once Austin is officially your boyfriend, he will buy you a dozen more, dressing you up like a real-life Barbie to show up that bitter sister. Violet quickly changed out of the dress. Despite her hair still being damp from the shower, she carefully hand-washed the garment, dried it, and folded it neatly. She even tried to drag our mother into my room to apologize to me, but my mother did not believe she had done anything wrong. I cook and clean for you girls every single day, and now I am the one in the wrong, my mother grumbled. It was just a laundry mistake. We can just swap it back. Since when does a mother have to bow down and apologize to her own children? But this was not the first time. It was never a simple mistake. Whenever a piece of clothing was new, expensive, or brightly colored, my mother would subconsciously place it in Violet's closet. The worn, dark, or oversized hand-me-downs always found their way into mine. When I first received the package from Austin, I had been so terrified of this exact scenario that I did not even throw it into the shared laundry hamper. I had hand-washed it myself and hung it up on my personal balcony. Yet, when I woke up the next morning, the dress was gone. When I asked my mother about it, she scolded me for being disorganized and leaving my things lying around. I had sat at my desk, intending to message Austin to apologize and admit I had lost his gift, when his chat popped up first. His excitement practically radiated through the screen. I found you. I looked out the window. He was standing right in front of Violet, his smile incredibly tender. A moment later, the door to my room opened. Violet stood there, holding the neatly folded dress out to me. I am so sorry, Sylvia. I did not know this was yours. I cut her off quietly. Just put it at the bottom of the wardrobe. After all, I would never have the chance to wear it now. The bullet comments flared up again, defensive of Violet. Why is she being so cold? Violet did not do it on purpose. But this time, a solitary voice spoke up for me. Let me put on some armor before I speak. But I have to be fair to the sister here. Violet might not have meant to, but her actions caused Austin to confess to the wrong person. Watching your 3-year crush confess to your own sister is a nightmare for any teenage girl. It is completely normal that she cannot bring herself to smile. One by one, the lights in the house went out. The living room, our parents' bedroom, and Violet's room fell dark. Only after I clicked off my desk lamp did the darkness swallow me completely. The blue light of my phone screen reflected off the tears dampening my cheeks. Austin and I had met through an online film forum. He had posted a query. Can anyone help me find a movie? I only remember one scene set in a dimly lit library. The male lead is leaning against a bookshelf, reading a book. I had stumbled across the post during my lunch break and left a brief reply. It sounds like Love Letter by Shunji. When I reopened the app later, I found he had left dozens of thank you messages and had even tried to send me a digital tip. I was quite active on the forum back then, using a profile picture of an apple and helping users identify obscure films for free. But Austin still sent me a private message, explaining that the movie was his late mother's absolute favorite. He remembered her watching it repeatedly when he was a child, but he had never been able to recall the title. He insisted on finding a way to show his gratitude. Eventually, we exchanged contact details. I was a quiet, reserved person, but Austin's warmth was like a constant sun. He quietly monitored every thread I commented on, occasionally sending me silly emojis of clumsy golden retrievers, joking about how he had tried to search for a film as fast as he could but was still a few seconds slower than me. He eventually noticed that my profile picture and username were both related to apples. He asked if it was my favorite fruit. My favorite artist is Sheena Ringo, I had replied, and Ringo means apple in Japanese. That was the first time I had initiated a personal detail. The moment I hit send, I flipped my phone face down on the desk, my heart racing. I wrote in my diary that night, revealing your personal tastes to someone is far more terrifying than any spam pop-up. From the day he added me, his social media was completely open to me. He posted photos of his school crest, English test papers, and the view of the courtyard from his classroom window. It was far easier to identify him than any movie. I quickly matched his posts with the boy I had been quietly watching at school. The final confirmation came during a physical education class. Austin and a group of boys walked past my classroom window. One of his friends laughed and teased him. "Since when did you change your profile picture to Isaac Newton? Is that your secret to topping the physics exams?" Austin shoved him playfully, laughing. But as he passed my window, the cord of my white earphones slipped from my school uniform. His voice carried clearly through the open window, hitting me with absolute clarity. "I am just waiting for my apple to fall." The thump of my own heartbeat drowned out the music playing in my ears. That night, I opened my social media to him and accepted his gift of the meow dress. "There is a special screening at the Archive Cinema this weekend," he had written. "If you are willing to go with me, wear this dress to school. I will find you." The next morning, a hand lightly tapped my shoulder. I turned around, but the moment the boy saw my face, his bright expression stiffened into awkward embarrassment. "Oh, sorry, I thought you were someone else." Violet quickly stepped in, hooking her arm through mine with a bright laugh. "You silly boy, this is my older sister." Watching their hands naturally clasped together, I forced a blank smile and quietly returned to my seat. Since reading those bullet comments, I had stopped replying to Austin's messages. He had endless things to talk about with Violet at school, and he did not seem to notice my silence at all. Until one afternoon, Violet casually tossed an apple onto my desk. "Why are you and Austin both so obsessed with apples? It is such a boring fruit." Austin, who was standing nearby, froze instantly. Before he could ask me anything, a burly man with heavily tattooed arms stormed into our classroom, heading straight for my desk. "Are you Sylvia Carter? You are the one who scammed my money, right?" He claimed to be my online boyfriend, pulling out a tablet to display several explicit, highly inappropriate photos of a girl who looked exactly like me. He claimed I had sent them to him and had recently demanded a large bank transfer from him before agreeing to meet him at a hotel. I stared at the screen, my heart dropping. I did not even recognize this man. "That is not my account. You have been scammed." But he refused to believe me, and the surrounding students began to murmur. "I cannot believe she is actually like this. She is the complete opposite of her sister. Having a sister like that must be so embarrassing." My desperate protests of "it wasn't me" were quickly drowned out by the rising tide of whispers. The man sneered, leaning over my desk. "Sylvia Carter, Class 2, Senior Year. How many Sylvias do you think there are in this school? Either you come to a hotel with me right now, or you return every single cent I spend on you." As he reached out to grab my wrist, a hand suddenly shot out, intercepting him and shielding me behind a broad shoulder. It was Austin. The bullet comments reacted with sheer shock. Why is the male lead protecting her? Did he figure out she is the online friend because of the apple? If he actually falls for this side character, I am dropping this book. Here we go again, slandering female characters with zero proof. There is literally no evidence she actually did any of that. The homeroom teacher arrived quickly, and the police were called to escort the man out of the building. To minimize the disruption, the school administration asked Violet to contact our parents so I could be taken home for the afternoon. Austin walked with me to a bench in the quiet courtyard. Clutching my cold hands, I looked up at him, clinging to a desperate shred of hope. "Do you believe me?" He cracked open a bottle of apple juice and handed it to me. "Violet cares about you very much. For her sake, I will help you find the truth." His help had nothing to do with me. It was merely an extension of his affection for my sister. The investigation concluded far faster than I anticipated. Before my mother even arrived at the school, the female officer in charge of the case confirmed that the photos had been generated using AI. The identity registration of the scam account did not belong to me either. As for who had set up the account to trick the man, the police were still running diagnostics. "It is not your fault, Sylvia," the officer said gently, patting my shoulder. "I will speak to your parents and your school administration. Your classmates will understand." The bullet comments echoed her words, drowning out the negative remarks. But the moment my mother stepped into the office, she did not ask if I was all right. Instead, she raised her hand and delivered a stinging slap across my face. "You embarrassing brat. I knew you were up to no good, staring at your phone all day. I never told you that you could not date, but if you had met a decent boy like Austin, would I have ever stopped you? Instead, you go out and find this absolute garbage." I should have stayed quiet. With a woman like my mother, silence was the only defense. If I kept quiet, she would eventually run out of steam. If I argued, she would only become more vicious. But the hollow ache in my chest had been building for too long. I could not stop the words from slipping out. "Did I go out of my way to find garbage, or do you honestly believe I only deserve garbage?" The office fell silent. Even the police officer paused. My mother's expression stiffened for only a heartbeat before her brows drew together. "What kind of question is that? Don't twist my words." "I didn't." I touched the burning mark on my cheek. "You asked if I couldn't find someone like Austin. You assumed everything before asking me a single question." The female officer frowned. "Mrs. Carter, your daughter has been identified as the victim in this incident." "Victim?" My mother scoffed. "If she hadn't been chatting with strangers online." "She wasn't." The officer's tone sharpened. "The account was fake. Someone stole her name and face." "We have already explained this." My mother's lips moved, but no words came out. For the first time in years, someone interrupted her instead of me. The bullet comments flickered uncertainly. "Wait, the mom is kind of awful. I thought she was just strict. She literally slapped the victim before asking what happened." "Poor Sylvia." Austin stood quietly beside the door. He looked at me, then at the red fingerprint blooming across my cheek. Something in his eyes darkened. School resumed the next morning. The principal personally addressed the incident during morning assembly. The police had confirmed that an AI-generated scam had impersonated a student. Rumors were forbidden. Anyone spreading edited photos would receive disciplinary action. Several students who had gleefully forwarded screenshots the day before immediately turned pale. By lunch, the whispers had changed. I heard she really was framed. Someone even used AI. That's terrifying. I shouldn't have believed it. No one apologized to my face. But at least they stopped staring. As I packed my books after class, Austin walked over. He hesitated. Sylvia. I looked up. He placed a small paper bag on my desk. Inside was another bottle of apple juice. Thanks. I owe you an apology. For what? I should have believed you immediately yesterday. You did stop him. I only knew the accusation didn't make sense. His voice was quiet. I still wondered if there was something you weren't telling us. He lowered his gaze. I'm sorry. The bullet comments exploded. He's apologizing? Male lead never apologized this early in the original. Why is he paying so much attention to her? I simply nodded. It's okay. It wasn't. But I didn't have the energy to explain why. As I stood to leave, the apple juice rolled out of the paper bag. Austin bent down to pick it up. His eyes landed on the corner of one of my notebooks. A tiny sticker. A cartoon apple wearing a crown. His fingers froze. Where did you get this? My notebook? The sticker. I bought it online years ago. He stared at it for a long moment. Then, very slowly, he asked. Do you like apples that much? Across the hallway, Violet waved. Austin. He instinctively looked toward her. The moment passed. He handed the bottle back to me. Nothing. But the seed of doubt had already been planted. That evening, I logged into the old film forum for the first time in nearly 2 weeks. My inbox was overflowing. Almost every message came from Austin. Did I do something wrong? Are you busy? The special screening was really good, I wish you had come. I miss talking about movies with you. The final message had been sent only 5 minutes ago. Apple, are you still there? I stared at the familiar nickname. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Then another notification appeared. It wasn't from Austin. It was from the forum administrators. Your account has been logged into from another device 3 days ago. If this wasn't you, please change your password immediately. I froze. 3 days ago. That was the day the scammer had appeared at school. A chill ran down my spine. Someone hadn't just stolen my face. Someone had tried to break into the only place where Austin and I had ever truly known each other. A cold feeling crawled up my spine. I immediately changed my password. Before I could log out, another notification appeared. Recent login records. My own phone. My laptop. And one unfamiliar device. Login location, River District Internet Cafe. The timestamp was from 3 days ago. Exactly 30 minutes after I had left home for school. The bullet comments flashed. Wait, someone really targeted her? I thought the scam account was random. This is getting creepy. Who knows her forum account? I took a screenshot and forwarded it to the police officer handling my case. Within minutes, she replied. Thank you. This may be important evidence. Don't contact anyone related to this login yourself. I set my phone down. A few seconds later, Austin's chat box lit up again. Apple? I stared at the nickname. For 3 years, it had made my heart race. Now it only made me tired. I typed a single sentence. I'm safe. Don't worry. 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Can we talk? I didn't answer. Instead, I logged off. The next afternoon, the police called me back to the station after school. This time my mother didn't come. She claimed she was busy. Violet insisted on accompanying me. She quietly sat beside me in the waiting room, nervously twisting the strap of her school bag. I'm really sorry. She had apologized so many times these past few days that her voice had become hoarse. I looked at her. You don't have to apologize for things you didn't do. She bit her lip. But if I hadn't worn that dress. If you hadn't, something else would have happened. I interrupted gently. The dress was only an accident. The real problem had never been Violet. It had always been someone else. The officer soon walked in carrying a folder. We've identified the owner of the unfamiliar login. Both of us sat up straight. The internet cafe surveillance footage captured him clearly. She laid a photograph on the table. It showed a thin young man wearing a baseball cap. Neither Violet nor I recognized him. Who is he? Violet asked. We're still investigating. However, the officer slid over another sheet. This man wasn't acting alone. There was another surveillance photo. A woman stood beside him at the cafe counter. Her face was partially hidden by a mask. Only her eyes were visible. My breathing stopped. Those eyes. They looked strangely familiar. The bullet comments exploded. No way. I know those eyes. Don't tell me it's someone from school. Wait, am I crazy, or does she look like? Before anyone could finish the thought, the officer spoke. We've enhanced the footage. She turned over the final photograph. The woman's face was now unobstructed. The room fell deathly silent. Violet's eyes widened in disbelief. No. I felt every drop of blood drain from my face. Standing beside the scammer in the surveillance image was someone we both knew. Our classmate. Lena Brooks. The quiet girl who had sat directly behind me since the beginning of senior year. The same girl who smiled at me every morning. And had borrowed my phone charger just 3 days before the fake account appeared. Violet was the first to react. Lena? Her voice cracked with disbelief. That can't be right. The police officer didn't answer immediately. Instead, she slid another document across the table. We're not concluding she's the mastermind. We only know she appeared with the suspect at the internet cafe. Whether she knowingly participated or was deceived herself is still under investigation. I looked at the surveillance still again. Lena wasn't smiling. She seemed to be arguing with the man, one hand gripping his sleeve while he impatiently shook her off. The bullet comments paused for the first time in ages. Wait. She doesn't look like an accomplice. Did we jump to conclusions? Keep watching. The officer continued, there's something else. The fake account contacted the victim several times before asking for money. She opened another page. The writing style changed halfway through the conversations. There were 2 different people using that account. My heart skipped. 2? She nodded. Our cybercrime team compared sentence structure, punctuation, and typing habits. One person handled the early conversations. A second person took over before demanding money and arranging the hotel meeting. So there are 2 suspects? At least. The room grew quiet. That explained why the investigation had moved so quickly. This wasn't a random scam. Someone had carefully built a fake identity using my name and face. Someone had invested time. Someone who knew enough about me to make it believable. Back at school the next morning, Lena didn't come to class. Her seat remained empty through first period. Then second. By lunch, rumors had spread. I heard the police question someone. Isn't it the girl from the back row? No way. Austin walked into our classroom carrying a stack of worksheets for the physics teacher. His eyes instinctively found me. Before he could say anything, the classroom door opened again. Lena stepped inside. Her face was pale. She looked as though she hadn't slept all night. The moment she saw me, she walked straight over. Every conversation stopped. She stood in front of my desk for several seconds before taking a deep breath. I'm sorry. The classroom erupted into whispers. Her voice trembled. I did go to the internet cafe. I knew that man. You knew him? He's my cousin. The bullet comments exploded. What? Family? No wonder she was there. I found out he was using AI to scam people, Lena continued, tears welling in her eyes. I went there to stop him. I didn't know he had stolen your identity until I saw your photo on his screen. I argued with him. I threatened to call the police. He laughed at me and said I'd only ruin my own family. She clenched her fists. I was scared. So I left. Silence. I should have reported him anyway. I'm sorry. She bowed deeply. So sorry. No one spoke. Then the classroom door opened once more. 2 plainclothes police officers appeared. Lena Brooks? She slowly straightened. Yes. We need you to come with us to clarify a few details. She nodded without resisting. As she followed them out, she paused beside my desk. Her voice was barely above a whisper. There's one more thing. The reason my cousin chose you was because someone at school gave him your information. The entire classroom froze. My fingers tightened around my pen. Who? Lena looked directly into my eyes. I never learned their name. But my cousin kept calling them by a nickname. What nickname? She swallowed. Apple thief. The words landed in the room like a dropped glass, sharp, sudden, impossible to ignore. Apple thief? Someone in class let out a nervous laugh. That sounds fake. But no one else laughed with them. Because the air had changed. Austin's hand, which had been resting on the stack of worksheets, slowly tightened. I saw it. A subtle shift in his expression, like something in his mind had clicked into place and didn't like what it found. The bullet comments went wild. No way, no way, no way. That nickname is way too specific. Don't tell me it's. The police officers exchanged a glance. One more time, the taller officer said calmly. Did he specify anything else about this apple thief? Lena hesitated at the door. He said they hated a girl named Sylvia. My stomach dropped. The room went completely still. Even the ceiling fan felt too loud. Violet turned sharply toward me. Sylvia. I didn't move. Because suddenly, every strange detail in the past weeks lined up too cleanly. The login from the internet cafe. The timing of the fake account. The way my identity had been replicated so precisely. Someone hadn't just stolen my face. They had studied me. Austin stepped forward. His voice was low. Who in school would know about her online account? No one answered. But I could feel it, eyes shifting around the classroom, suspicion spreading like ink in water. Then. A chair scraped back. From the second row. A boy stood up. Wait. He looked nervous, already regretting speaking. But, didn't Lena say she borrowed Sylvia's charger 3 days before the scam started? Heads turned back to Lena, who had already been escorted halfway down the hallway. The officers paused. One of them spoke into her radio. Hold her for further questioning. Lena turned back, startled. What? I told you I didn't do it. Her voice cracked down the corridor. I was trying to stop him. But the officers had already started walking her away. The classroom exploded into whispers the moment she disappeared. But I couldn't hear most of it anymore. Because Austin had moved. He was standing right in front of my desk now. Close enough that I could see the faint crease between his brows. He didn't look at anyone else. Only me. Sylvia. I finally looked up. His voice softened. I need to ask you something. My fingers curled slightly. Did you ever tell anyone your forum username? The question hit harder than I expected. Because the answer wasn't simple. I had been careful. Careful for years. Careful in ways that now felt pointless. I didn't, I said quietly. A pause. Then. Not even me? My breath caught. Austin's eyes didn't waver. But something in them had changed. Not suspicion exactly. Something heavier. Like realization trying to decide whether it was relief or regret. The bullet comments flickered again. Wait, why is he asking that? Is he checking if she's really Apple? Or, does he already know something? I stood slowly. Why are you asking me that? For the first time, Austin didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his pocket. And placed something on my desk. A small receipt. From the internet cafe. My eyes dropped to it. And froze. Because at the top corner, faint but visible, was a handwritten note. Room 3. Apple confirmed. My heartbeat went loud in my ears. Austin watched my reaction carefully. Then, very quietly, he said. I think I know who the apple thief is. And this time? He didn't look at Lena's empty seat. He looked at me. I stared at the receipt. Then at Austin. Then back at the receipt again, like if I looked long enough it would turn into something less life-altering. Why does this feel like I accidentally joined a detective show? I muttered. A few students behind us actually flinched at the tension still hanging in the room, but I just felt tired. Austin blinked. Then, like he finally remembered we were still in a classroom and not a crime documentary, he let out a short breath. Yeah, he said. It does sound insane when you say it like that. That earned a couple confused looks from the class. Violet leaned over my desk. So, are we safe or not safe? Emotionally? I asked. No. That got an awkward laugh somewhere in the room, like the spell finally cracked. Austin rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't mean to make it sound worse, he said more softly. I just recognized something. He tapped the receipt again. The handwriting isn't from the cafe. I frowned. Then why does it say that? He hesitated. Then, very reluctantly. Because I wrote it. Silence. Not scary silence. Just, stupid silence. I stared at him. You what? He exhaled like he'd rather jump out the window than explain. I went there that day, he admitted. I was trying to trace the login too. I saw someone using your name on a list at the counter. The staff was calling it Apple. I panicked and wrote that down so I wouldn't forget. He paused. Then I forgot I wrote it. The class slowly started reacting. So it's not a mastermind plot? Bro, this is just confusion stacked on confusion. I can't believe I stressed for this loudly crying face. I pinched the bridge of my nose. So let me get this straight. You almost made me think I was in danger of a secret organization. Austin looked genuinely guilty now. I didn't say organization. You said apple thief. I didn't mean it like. Violet sighed loudly. Can someone please explain why my sister's love life always turns into a crime documentary? That finally broke it. A few people laughed. Even the teacher, who had been standing awkwardly near the door this whole time, cleared his throat. Right. Since there's no active threat in the classroom, I suggest we all return to normal class behavior. Nobody moved. Because normal behavior felt impossible now. Austin looked at me again, quieter this time. Are you okay? I looked at him. Then at my empty, slightly chaotic desk. Then at the fact that my romantic mystery had somehow involved fake accounts, mistaken identity, and my mother slapping me in an office too. Days ago. I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me after I recover from being emotionally upgraded to a side quest. A beat. Then Austin laughed, actually laughed this time. Soft. Real. That's fair. And somehow, for the first time in days, it didn't feel like the story was falling apart. Just, ridiculously tangled. Like a rom-com that forgot it wasn't supposed to become a crime show halfway through. The classroom didn't recover for long. By the next period, Lena was officially under investigation, but nothing concrete stuck yet. The school called it a misunderstanding and tried to sweep the chaos back under the carpet like spilled ink. Austin stopped hovering. Not because he stopped caring, just because he didn't know where to stand anymore. And me? I stopped waiting for explanations. Because something simpler was starting to matter more. At lunch, Violet shoved a drink into my hand. Apple juice again? I asked. Yes, she said seriously. It seems to be the only stable thing in your life. I didn't even argue. Across the courtyard, Austin sat alone. He wasn't texting. Not talking. Just thinking. Then he stood up and walked straight over. No hesitation this time. He stopped in front of me. I figured it out, he said. I blinked. That fast? He nodded. It's not Lena. Silence. Violet froze mid-sip. Austin exhaled. It's someone who knew both your forum account and your school schedule. He looked down at me. And someone who knew I would follow anything related to Apple. My stomach tightened. So who? Austin's expression darkened slightly. Someone who's been watching both of us for a long time. Before I could respond, a phone buzzed. Mine. Unknown number. One message. You finally noticed. I stared at it. Violet leaned in. That's creepy. Austin's eyes narrowed instantly. Then another message came in. Don't look at the wrong person again, Austin. The air went cold. Because that message was sent directly to him too. He slowly looked up. And for the first time, his voice wasn't confused, or guilty, or careful. It was certain. Okay. He shoved his phone back into his pocket. This just stopped being a misunderstanding. I sighed. I was really hoping it was still a misunderstanding. Violet raised her hand. Can I opt out of this arc? No one answered her. Austin looked at me. Stay with me after school. I frowned. Why? He paused. Then said simply. Because whoever this is, already picked you. Beat. He corrected himself. And I'm not letting them keep you. After school, Austin didn't waste time. He met me at the gate. Someone's using both of us, he said immediately. And they want us separated. Violet crossed her arms. Great. So we're in a targeted romance scam subplot. Basically, Austin said. I sighed. Can we solve this before dinner? They didn't need long. The clue was stupidly simple. The fake messages always referenced Apple-related details I only ever mentioned on the forum. Not school. Not real life. Forum me. Which meant It had to be someone who watched my online activity closely. Austin checked his phone. Paused. Then slowly said, "There's only one person who interacted with your posts consistently." I already knew. The film forum moderator. He nodded. Violet blinked. The what? Cut to, forum admin room. An hour later. A stressed adult was sweating while 3 teenagers and 1 police officer stood in front of him. "I just managed the platform," he insisted. "I didn't do anything illegal." Austin pointed at the screen. "Then why do you have login access logs manually edited?" Silence. The man went pale. Fast cut again. Everything unravels quickly. Asterisk he had been selling user info. Asterisk targeting active helpful users. Asterisk and using fan identities to manipulate emotional connections. Including mine. Including Austin's. Final confrontation happens, but no long speech. He tries to deny it. Police step in. Done. Outside. Evening. The chaos is finally over. Violet stretches. "So I can go back to worrying about exams instead of criminal romance plots?" "Yes," I say immediately. Austin looks at me. "Mostly." I glare at him. "Don't say mostly." He smiles slightly. "Okay. Fully over." A pause. Then he adds. "Except one thing." I narrow my eyes. "What now?" He holds up my forum nickname on his phone. Apple. "Don't start. I want the real one this time," he says quietly. I blink. "You already know me." He shakes his head. "I knew a version of you." Beat. Then, softer. "I want to meet the one who doesn't hide behind a username." Silence. Violet immediately steps back. "I'm not here for emotional development scenes. I'm leaving." She walks away. Traitor. I look at Austin. Then sigh. "You're really dramatic for someone who caused 80% of this mess." He nods. "Fair." Then, after a pause. "So, coffee?" I pause. "You're asking me out after a cybercrime arc?" "Yes." I think about it. "Fine. A beat. But if anything else weird happens, I'm blocking you in real life." He smiles. "Understood." And for the first time, everything actually feels normal again. A week later, nothing exploded. No fake accounts, no mysterious messages, no sudden plot twists waiting around corners. It felt suspiciously normal. Which, for my life, was basically a miracle. The cafe Austin chose was small and quiet, tucked between 2 noisy streets where nobody had time to overthink their own emotions. He was already there when I arrived. Of course he was. He stood up slightly when he saw me, then stopped himself like he was trying not to be too obvious about it. "Hi," he said. "Hi," I replied. We both sat. Then didn't speak for a few seconds. Violet would have called it unbearable. I just called it peaceful. Austin pushed a drink toward me. "Apple juice." I stared at it. "You're committed to the theme, I see." He nodded seriously. "It's important." That got a small laugh out of me before I could stop it. Outside, the city moved like nothing had ever happened. No bullet comments. No glowing text in the air. No voices narrating my life like I was a side character. Just, people. I realized I had gotten used to being watched. Now I wasn't. And it felt strange. Austin broke the silence first. I kept thinking about something. I raised a brow. "That's dangerous for you." He ignored that. Everything that happened, the misunderstanding, the messages, the way I kept assuming things. He paused. Then looked at me directly. "I think I liked you before I even knew who you were." My fingers tightened slightly around my cup. That's a bold statement for someone who confused my sister for me. He winced. "That part one can't defend." Fair. Another silence. This one softer. Less chaotic. Austin leaned back slightly. "You know," he said, "I used to think I needed to find Apple. I glanced at him. "And now?" He smiled faintly. "Now I think I was just looking for the person who understood me when I didn't even know how to say things properly." A pause. Then he added. "And she's been in front of me the whole time." I looked down at my drink. "You're going to make this weird if you keep talking." "I'm trying not to," he admitted. That made it worse. And better. When we left the cafe, the sky was turning orange. Violet was waiting outside like she'd planned it. She looked us up and down. So? I shrugged. No crimes. Just feelings. Disappointing ending for you? She sighed dramatically. Honestly? I preferred the chaos arc. Austin blinked. That's concerning. We walked a bit before splitting directions. At the corner, Austin stopped. Hey, he said. I turned. He hesitated, then smiled. Can I still call you Apple? I stared at him for a long second. Then shook my head. No. His face fell slightly. I pointed at him. You can earn it back. A beat. Then his expression softened into something genuinely relieved. Okay. I walked home alone. No whispers followed me. No comments floated in the air. Just the sound of my footsteps. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a side character in someone else's story. I felt like me.